Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and before we go any further, Happy New Year. I hope you guys all had a great one. So, what's this video all about? It's about the CAV Brawler, which I'm going to call the CAV throughout the video from here on out, and how I recommend it should be configured, specifically given the amount of vehicle fights you get into when playing Conquest mode. Not true for Breakthrough, but that would need a whole separate video to cover. When the CAV is fully crewed, it's an absolute beast, which is nigh on undefeatable. Particularly when you've got the engineers at the back giving you repairs like you're seeing there, and additional firepower in critical clutch moments like you're seeing here.
Ready.
The Active Protection System, or APS, allows you to slap back pretty much every single attack that comes at you with the exception of a railgun shot, and with up to 5 people on board you can capture objectives very quickly. Not to mention you can continue spawning people in even if the seats are full, unlike the MAV. But one of the real glories, particularly since 5.3, is the ability to defeat all aircraft. Being able to do that whilst capturing objectives is phenomenal. So as always, in addition to arguing my case for how I think a vehicle should be played, I'm also trying to show how much fun they are and encourage people to have a go if up until now they haven't. And I'd also love you guys to pile in and give me advice. What am I doing wrong? What could I be doing better? What have I straight missed? The whole reason I make these videos is to share the love and make everybody have a good time, so chip in. Alright, so structure of the video. In part 1 we're going to be in the driver's chair looking at the close defense system, or electric smoke as I call it because I absolutely adore Titanfall. This is an absolute must, not just for capturing objectives, but also for fighting vehicles as you'll see, and also to defend yourself from Mackay C5s. For example, when you see a Mackay player jump in like this, you want to activate your smoke as quickly as possible to start the charge and slam it into reverse. This is where it's going to go off, and because you're moving, you should drag the Mackay player into the blast. We'll go through a few more examples later. The next thing I'd like to talk about is just to make people aware that electric smoke doesn't require line of sight to be able to hit a player on the other side of a wall, like this cheeky pike waiting to C5 me right here. Electric smoke has saved my life so many times I've lost count. In part 2, I'd like to share what I've managed to teach myself about fighting vehicles using the 25mm APDS Anti Vehicle Rounds.
Move fast to seize objectives. We're running behind.
The first thing being always have an RPG in your pocket if you're going up against a battle tank. I'd also like to discuss with you in this section something I've learned quite recently, which is ramming a vehicle to buck their turret up into the sky so they can't get a shot is actually really effective in fights. Particularly against a railgun, that saved my neck a lot. One thing I will just highlight now, because I've killed a lot of people who don't seem to do this, when you're driving alone in the CAV waiting for people to spawn in, you do have to be prepared to jump from the driver to the gunner's seat to defend yourself. And before you do make that jump, make sure you activate APS like you're seeing here, so that when you start the fight, you've got protection from the person you're going up against. I'm genuinely surprised how many people don't do that. In part 3, looking at the second weapon station, I'd like to reinforce my recommendation that you take the 20mm anti-air Flak Cannon, because without it, you are just going to get shredded by aircraft, particularly since 5.3, and the jet update since Season 6. Don't think I don't see you trying to C5 me, Boris. Got some really good team-based gameplay to show you guys, so looking forward to Section 3. And finally, Section 4, the ride-alongs. If you've got gamers willing to occupy the back seats to provide repairs and additional firepower, a CAV crew can pretty much dominate the map. And that's about it. Alright, let's get into it. Hope you enjoy. So starting with the driver's seat, electric smoke is fantastic, not only for defense, but also as an offensive weapon. Pull up alongside them, pop it, they all die. Fantastic. Another great time to use it is when a vehicle fight's coming into the end stage and the enemy players jump out, bail to try and C5 you. You can catch them as they get out. Keep in mind also that a lot of players don't like going down with the ship, so very often they bail before the vehicle is destroyed, and it gives you the perfect opportunity to hijack it and deny them any future use of it. When you see that there's a rush coming on an objective that you're trying to capture, quickly rushing forward and popping electric smoke is actually extremely effective at stopping it dead, especially when they're all congregating around a door or a corner trying to peep at you. But what do we do when we have a Mackay trying to zipline C5 dunk us? Well, we do this. Activate now to let it charge. And from here, Mackay will come flying straight into the blast zone and get killed. Congratulations, you just saved your CAV.
Let's
sensational defensive play, stopping what would have been a dunk by Iguodala.
Just gonna let the camera roll to show how good APS is. Slap back not only rockets but also grenades being thrown at me. As sure as night follows day, when you're trying to capture an objective in a vehicle, there will be a C5 or McKay or otherwise coming up on you trying to take you out. So you always want to make certain, at least when you go in, you've got electric smoke charged or nearly charged, so you're ready to push these people back. In any event, please do believe me, if nothing else about this, having electric smoke to push back C5ers has saved me more times than I could possibly count. Very often players, particularly assault classes, will just YOLO up to you, so just always have your eye open, be ready to stop them. Another thing to watch out for are players who are hiding behind cover, like this cheeky Sundance you're about to see. Don't wait for them to come to you. Go get them first. Just drive on up to them like everything's cool, and then take them out before they have a chance to pounce. When an objective is being heavily contested, a CAV can completely flip the fight with electric smoke. If you think about it, it's actually extremely powerful being able to wipe out that many players with no line of sight. Anyway, my final piece of electric smoke wisdom: if you're going into a narrow place where you can see there's an enemy around the corner, pop the smoke to just make sure it's clear before you go in. Okay, let's make a nice little segue into section 2, vehicle fighting. Okay, so as mentioned in the introduction, I'm using the 25mm APDS Anti Vehicle Rounds, and they're actually pretty good. There's 8 in a magazine, but they're not that strong, so wherever possible, try to put them in the side of your opponent. A great thing about this gun is that when you actually run out of rounds, it regenerates very quickly, one shot at a time, so actually emptying the clip doesn't really reduce your rate of fire all that much. Check it out. And just to show for completion, if you get one of these medium armored vehicles like a Wildcat from the rear, they just simply evaporate. If you'll allow me, just one more Wildcat clip. It ties into the video I did just before Christmas. For anybody who still thinks a 40mm Wildcat can play tank, no it can't. Hopefully we can take that point as read and we don't need to raise it again. Right, moving on to the more armored vehicles, such as the Tor, this is where it starts to get a little bit more dangerous. Now you want to concentrate their shots into the side and the rear to be effective, but also, as you just saw there, a nice little nudge, a little ram on a Tor, can lift the barrel into the sky and stop the Tor from getting a shot at you. You also want to be going around it like you're seeing here in pretty tight circles, never stop moving, because it basically negates any chance they have of getting a shot on you. And just finally, as you're seeing here, your speed matches theirs, so if they try to make a run for it, chase them down. Tors can be pulled down extremely quickly by a CAV, so don't be afraid about getting in there. Ramming is also really effective against other vehicles like the Ram.
I apologize if...
As I hope you're noting, a rammed vehicle loses its line of sight to you, but you don't lose any uptime with your gun. So there's really no downside in doing it, and providing you get a good run at it, you can even knock over a MAV, providing you hit it from the side, not the front. Not my CAV, so sadly not the gun I wanted, but you see how many hits I'm getting in this side? Anyway, finish it another way. Just to be aware, if you hit a CAV or a MAV head on, you both just buck up in the air like this. The player showed me their side where the armor's weak and didn't activate APS, so easy to rip them apart. Regarding main battle tanks, don't try to lift them unless you have no other choice.
Tank, 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 tank. Ah, he moved from the mines. I was going to shoot the mines.
Wanted a hijack there, but my gunner was too enthusiastic. Anyway, that's the end of the ramming section. Maybe you didn't know that. It's something to keep in mind. Okay, so moving on to straight up gunfights. Now when fighting a ram, you're not going to have any problem with firepower, especially if you hit them in the sides or the back. The challenge you're going to have is if the ram has equipped APS, because as you're seeing here, you do your initial round of damage, they activate their defenses, and then they run. So if you want to finish the job, you have to be prepared to put your foot to the floor and chase them down until APS wears off. This is a very common scenario to face when capturing objectives. Here's another example. Remember, if you don't chase them down and finish it, they're just going to come back. Where's the human? There we go, got him. Okay, we're moving up the weight class. CAV versus CAV. If you can get them in the side, you'll destroy them. Remember to just keep your eye on those back seats, watch out for any repair sparks and potentially any rockets which might be coming at you, which could tip the fight. Just like Uncle Boris is about to try to now. You see him jump out the back of the CAV there? Boris is dispatched with electric smoke and we finish off the CAV. Now up until now every fight's been quite one-sided, CAV versus CAV. Here's what happens when two evenly matched vehicles, and I guess players, go at each other. APS saved him and I'm forced to use mine as well. There's no point shooting at him and I've still got missiles coming in at me, so I'm going to break off and get cover. We're on full health and my APS is finished, which means theirs has too. Let's go for the finish. Electric smoke to catch any C5ers. There you go, you see the engineer jumping from the flames? Good win. Okay, let's move up the weight ladder to the MAV. So fighting a MAV has some very simple rules. 1, pop your APS, because if you don't, the 50mm is going to tear you apart. 2, don't shoot them in the front armor, you're wasting your time. And 3, keep the shots up, because the MAV doesn't have APS. There's no way they can heal themselves. Honestly, the only vehicle that can cause you any real problems is a battle tank. I wouldn't try it unless you have extra firepower. APS denying the jet there. Just remember that providing they equipped it, tanks also have APS, so if you're going to jump out as a driver or other to take a shot, just make sure you see that little green light turns to red before you do.
Oh,
Get him? Did you get him?
yeah.
Anyway, just to close on the main battle tanks, if you've got a full crew or at least near enough, don't be shy about having a crack at a battle tank. But as you're going to see in this clip here, after we dispatch this tank, if you face a second tank and you don't have any of your cooldowns, you are going to get absolutely decimated. If you don't have APS, you're done. Best you can hope for is to swap vehicles, which personally I don't think is a very good trade. So that's the ground vehicle section. You're going to run into a lot of vehicle fights when you're trying to capture, and I'll leave you with this little bit of footage just to prove it before we move on to anti-air. All I wanted to do was put a few shots in the back of this tank and finish it off. Things escalated quite quickly.
Every sector. Ready to deliver support,
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Okay, so this brings me on to Weapon Station 2 and the 20mm Flak Cannon for anti-air play. As discussed in my recent Apache video, the CAV is the only vehicle that has APS to cancel out all of the rockets and a gun to take them down. I feel like I've covered this topic, so I'm going to focus on these points instead. One of the major drawbacks just to be aware of with a Flak Cannon is it actually has quite short range. I would say this is about the maximum range you can fire at to be able to take out an air vehicle. Any farther the shots just detonate in the air, you won't score a hit. Here's another example to make the point. What you ideally want to do is use your speed to rush underneath your target before you start shooting and catch them by surprise so they don't have time to fly away.
Nightbird 50% off.
it's exactly the same with jets. You want them to be close so you can absolutely guarantee you'll be able to wipe them out in one pass. Don't forget also that Weapon Station 1 with the 20mm APDS rounds are also very effective against helicopters, particularly the heavily armoured ones. Completely viable to take out a chopper if you see one using it.
40 meters from you.
We have a breach at one of our objectives.
This clip here is brilliant. So our Flak Cannon is fighting a Hokum that's attacking us. I'm fighting a stealth helicopter. The APS is completely negating all of their shots on us, and we managed to down them both.
Dead.
Perfect. Another heli, another heli. Nice.
Dead. Wow. Heli double
Jet,
kill.
jet.
But taking this further, I want to tell you a true story. We pissed off a clan that had a Nightbird and 2 jets in the sky. They were coordinating and going after targets together. You'll notice throughout that the jets and the Nightbird are coordinating their strikes. Only the CAV with a dedicated crew working together can stop them. Just watch and listen.
I got the jet for 36 only.
The jet will come back.
Heli's here.
I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. 32.
23 damage. Jet's back. Jet's dead. Let's go. Another jet.
I got him.
Another jet dead. Good job.
I got him.
I hope you saw how the jet and the Nightbird were coordinating their strikes to try to overpower our armor and repairs. Anyway, I hope I managed to convey to you how a CAV, with dedicated players moving between the gunning seat and repair, correct use of APS was managed to not only stand up to that, but actually come out on top and win. AA gun is a must in Conquest. And this brings me to the final thing about the ride-alongs. I wouldn't be able to get half the success driving or gunning in the CAV if I didn't have 1 or 2 engineers sitting in the back giving up their gain time to repair us and keep us alive. You've also seen throughout how the players can jump out, inflict damage, otherwise protect the CAV. Battlefield is at its core a team game. Nobody says you have to sit in the back for the entire round babysitting other people having fun. Jump out when the situation calls for it. Other people can take the chair. But there's absolutely no denying, as I hope this video has proved, there is huge utility in being that player for your team. And from a gameplay perspective, even if it's not a scoreboard rewarded thing, I love defending my CAV and being the player that kept it rolling.
Russians are at half strength. Hostiles are trying to seize one of our objectives.
Hostile vehicle down!
Okay, I think that's just about everything I had to say about the CAV and taking out vehicles. Thank you very much. If you made it all the way to the end, I really appreciate it. And I'll leave you with this little funny outro. If you're going to mess up and go out, make sure you take everybody else with you. Take care, guys. See you at the next one. Bye-bye.